Good morning, friends! Today is the second Sunday in the season of Lent, and through this season, we're learning about covenants God has made with God's people. Do you remember what a covenant is? It's a special agreement that lasts and lasts. In our story last week, we heard how God made a covenant with Noah, promising never again to let a flood destroy the whole world. And as a sign of that covenant, God put a beautiful rainbow in the sky. This week, we're going to talk about another man who believed in God. This man's name was Abram. When Abram was an old man, God spoke to him and said, "Abram, take your wife Sarai and your nephew Lot and go to the land of Canaan. You will become the father of many children who will one day make a great nation. I will be your God, and you will all be my people forever." Even though he thought he was way too old to have children, Abram believed God and did exactly what God said, and he set out on his way for the land of Canaan. Many years later, Abram and Sarai still hadn't had a baby, and that made them very sad because they wanted to be parents, and because they wondered how God's promise could come true if they didn't have a child. Abram took his worries to God and asked God what he should do, how he could be the father of a great nation if he still had no children. God took him outside to look at the night sky and said, "Abram, how many stars are there in the sky? Can you even count them? That's what your descendants will be like." Abram still didn't understand how he would become the father of a nation, but he trusted God and he waited. When he was 99 years old, God spoke to him again and made the promise one more time. This time God said, "Abram, I promise I'll be your God forever and your descendants' God forever. And now I want you to change your name, because something special is changing for you. Now you will be called Abraham, which means father of many. And Sarai will now be called Sarah, because she will be the mother of nations. Now is the time for the promise to come true. She will have a son, and you will name him Isaac." Sure enough, when Abraham was 100 years old and Sarah was 90, she gave birth to a baby boy, and they named him Isaac. Isaac grew up and got married and had children, who had children, who had children, who had children, and before you knew it, there was a great nation called Israel, all descended from Abraham. Sometimes we want things to happen right away. We want all the blessing we can get right now. But sometimes God has different timing. But God is always faithful. God always keeps God's promises no matter what. And we share in the promise made to Abraham. God is our God, always and forever. And we are God's people. God will never leave us. God will never turn away from us no matter what. How do we know? Because God made a promise. And God is a promise keeper.